Elliot Grayson was a man of immense wealth and influence. His penthouse perched high above the city symbolized his success, a fortress of glass and steel from which he ruled his empire. But beneath the polished surface of his meticulously controlled life lay a profound emptiness he refused to confront. Elliot had everything money could buy but nothing that truly mattered. One afternoon, a fateful incident on the Brooklyn Bridge would shatter his carefully constructed world. The sun shone brightly that day, its warmth contrasting with the cool breeze that swept across the Brooklyn Bridge. Elliot, dressed in top-of-the-line running gear, jogged with determination. His strides were measured, his breathing controlled, but the ache in his chest began to grow. At first, he dismissed it as exhaustion, but the pain soon became unbearable. Elliot stumbled to the side, gripping the railing as his vision blurred. The bustling crowd moved around him, oblivious to his distress. He tried to call out, but his voice was weak, drowned out by the cacophony of the city. For the first time in his life, Elliot felt truly powerless. As darkness crept into the edges of his vision, a small hand touched his arm. "Mister, are you okay?" a young voice asked. Cutting through his despair, Elliot looked up to see a little girl with pigtails and bright, concerned eyes. "You're sick," she exclaimed. Without hesitation, she stood and began shouting, her voice rising above the noise. "Help! Somebody! Help him!" The girl, Lyla Carter, was only 7 years old, but her determination was unshakable. She waved her arms and called out, refusing to be ignored. Finally, a jogger stopped, followed by a small crowd gathering around Elliot. Someone called 911, and paramedics arrived within minutes. Lyla stayed by Elliot's side, her small hand holding his as the paramedics worked. "Don't worry, mister," she said confidently, "they'll make you better." Her words, simple and pure, offered Elliot a sense of comfort he hadn't felt in years. As he was lifted onto the stretcher, he managed a weak smile, his gratitude unspoken but deeply felt. Elliot woke in a hospital room, the sterile smell of antiseptics filling the air. His chest ached, and his body felt weak. But he was alive. The doctor entered with a clipboard, her expression both stern and kind. "You had a heart attack, Mr. Grayson," she explained. "You were lucky. A little girl saved your life." The memory of Lila's bright eyes and steady voice flooded back. He asked for details about her, determined to find and thank her. His assistant, Mark, quickly tracked down the Carter family's modest address in Queens. A few days later, Elliot stood outside the Carters' apartment, clutching a check meant as a token of gratitude. The building was old, with peeling paint and a broken elevator. He climbed the stairs, each step feeling heavier than the last. When the door opened, a woman with tired but kind eyes greeted him. "I'm Hannah Carter," she said, her voice tinged with curiosity. Before Elliot could respond, Lyla appeared, her face lighting up. "Mr. Grayson, you're better," she exclaimed, hugging him tightly. Elliot, unaccustomed to such spontaneous affection, awkwardly patted her back. "Thanks to you," he replied, handing the check to Hannah. "This is for your family. As a small thank you." Hannah's eyes widened at the amount on the check. But before she could speak, Lyla intervened. "I don't want money," she said firmly. "Can you spend a day with me instead? Like a friend?" Elliot froze. He had expected gratitude, not this unusual request. Lila's innocent eyes held no ulterior motive, only genuine kindness. After a long pause, he nodded. "All right," he said, "I'll spend the day with you." The next morning, Lyla eagerly led Elliot through her neighborhood. She introduced him to Maria and Carlos Sanchez, the owners of a small bakery. "This is where I get my favorite cookies," she announced. Beaming, Maria handed Elliot a warm croissant. "Any friend of Lila's is family," she said warmly. Elliot, who was more accustomed to catered meals than homemade treats, was surprised by the simple gesture. At the park, Lyla introduced Elliot to her friends, Tommy and Sarah. "He's the man I helped," she declared proudly. The children persuaded Elliot to push them on the swings, their laughter echoing across the playground. For the first time in years, Elliot felt a genuine smile spread across his face. Their final stop was a mural near the Brooklyn Bridge. It depicted Lila's father, David Carter, a firefighter who had died saving a stranger during a storm. Lyla touched the mural gently. "That's my daddy," she said. "He was a hero. Mommy says I look like him." Elliot was deeply moved. The courage and kindness that Lyla exhibited were clearly a reflection of her father's legacy. He felt a stirring in his heart, a longing to do more with his life than simply amass wealth. Back in his penthouse, Elliot found it impossible to return to his old routine. The faces of Lyla and the people in her neighborhood haunted him. He realized how shallow his life had become, devoid of purpose or connection. Determined to make a change, Elliot began working on a project to honor David Carter's legacy. He funded the creation of a community park, complete with a playground, gardens, and a memorial statue of David. But he didn't stop there. Elliot also reached out to small business owners in Lyla's neighborhood, offering financial support and mentorship. As Elliot poured his energy into the community, his absence at Grayson Enterprises didn't go unnoticed. His rival, Robert Langford, seized the opportunity to undermine him. Through forged documents and manipulated data, Robert convinced the board that Elliot was no longer fit to lead the company. Elliot was devastated when he was ousted as CEO, but Lyla's unwavering support gave him strength. "You're my hero, just like my daddy," she told him. Her faith in him reignited his determination. With the help of his sister Rebecca, a skilled lawyer, and loyal colleagues like Mark, Elliot uncovered evidence of Robert's fraud. Together, they exposed Robert's schemes and reclaimed Elliot's position at the helm of Grayson Enterprises. The David Carter Memorial Park was completed to great acclaim. At the grand opening, Lyla cut the ribbon while the community cheered. The bronze statue of her father stood tall, a symbol of selflessness and bravery. Elliot, standing beside Hannah and Lyla, felt a profound sense of fulfillment. The cold, isolated businessman he once was had been replaced by a man who understood the value of connection and compassion. Elliot's life had transformed. He mended broken relationships, including with his estranged sister Rebecca, and found love with Hannah. Together, they worked to strengthen the community and build a life filled with purpose and joy. As Elliot watched Lyla play in the park, he realized that her simple request had given him far more than he could ever repay. She had shown him the true meaning of wealth, the love and trust of those around you.